She had always loved dogs. Growing up, every time she passed by a park, she noticed the dogs running, playing, and exploring with joy. She watched their owners struggle to keep up, trying to manage leashes, toys, and barking while keeping the dogs safe. She imagined a place where dogs could be truly free and their owners could relax, knowing their pets were safe and happy. Over the years, that idea had grown into a real dream, a dog park like no other. A perfect place for dogs to run, jump, and explore without limits. From early morning walks to late-night research on her computer, she thought about every detail. She pictured wide-open fields with soft grass for running, shaded areas with benches for owners to sit, and separate spaces for small and large dogs so everyone could play safely. She wanted agility courses where dogs could climb, jump, and weave, and plenty of water stations to keep them refreshed. Every feature mattered to her. Every corner of the park had a purpose, designed with love and care. Her friends and family often teased her about how obsessed she was, but they also admired her determination. They could see how her eyes lit up when she spoke about the dog park. It wasn't just about the dogs. She imagined the park as a place where people could meet, share stories, and bond over their love for animals. She thought about hosting small events, like adoption days and community gatherings, bringing dog lovers together. It wasn't just a park. It was a dream of a community, a place of joy and laughter. She often stayed up late at night, drawing layouts and making lists, imagining every detail down to the smallest flowers in the garden. When she finally decided to take the first step, she felt a mixture of excitement and fear. Owning land, she thought, was the first real step toward making her dream come true. She started visiting properties nearby, walking the land, imagining how each plot could become part of her park. She looked for open spaces, convenient locations, and areas that could support her vision. Every visit was filled with anticipation, but also small disappointments. Some lands were too small, others too expensive, and some had issues with access or zoning restrictions. Still, she did not give up. Each small obstacle only fueled her determination. She started talking to experts. Landscape architects, dog trainers, and local business owners all became part of her growing network. They shared their insights and advice, some warning her about challenges, others encouraging her to pursue the dream. She listened carefully, taking notes, learning everything she could. The more she learned, the more she realized that building a dog park was not just about land and fences. It was about creating an experience, a place where every dog and every owner felt welcome and safe. She wanted every detail to matter, from the soft grass to the gentle slope of a hill, from the shade of trees to the location of water stations. Alongside the research, she began imagining the reactions of the people who would come to the park. She pictured families arriving on weekends, children laughing as their dogs ran around, elderly owners relaxing on benches while their companions played. She thought of the joy on the faces of dogs who had never experienced such freedom, running without restrictions, playing with new friends. It was a vision that kept her motivated. Even when the challenges seemed overwhelming, she also thought about the financial side. Owning a park meant managing costs, maintenance, and staff. She created spreadsheets, ran numbers late into the night, calculating expenses for landscaping, water, benches, fencing, and permits. She wanted the park to be sustainable, a place that could last for years and grow into a beloved community space. She learned about the local laws, zoning restrictions, and safety requirements. Every detail mattered, and she wanted to make sure everything was done properly, so the park could be enjoyed without problems. Despite all the planning and research, nothing prepared her for the emotional weight of the journey. She felt the highs of imagining success and the lows of encountering obstacles. Some days she walked away from potential land feeling a deep disappointment, only to be motivated again by the idea of one perfect plot. Friends would ask why she didn't just settle for a smaller, easier option, but she couldn't. She had to chase the dream in its fullest form. The vision that had grown in her heart over years, her passion for dogs, drove her through sleepless nights and long days. She often visited local dog parks to observe, Taking mental notes of what worked and what didn't, she spoke with dog owners, gathering their opinions, listening to their frustrations and suggestions. These small interactions helped her refine her vision, understanding the real needs of both dogs and owners. Every conversation, every observation was a piece of the puzzle, helping her imagine a park that could truly make a difference, even in moments of doubt. She found inspiration in small victories. A simple smile from a dog owner, a wagging tail, or a happy bark reminded her why she started. She kept photographs, sketches, and notes, creating a growing collection of ideas and dreams. She shared them with friends and advisors, who encouraged her to keep going, reminding her that great things take time and persistence. She began to understand that a dream this big would not happen overnight, but the process itself was teaching her resilience, patience, and the value of careful planning. She also realized that the journey was as important as the destination. Each step, each challenge, each interaction was shaping her understanding of what a successful dog park would be. She learned that it was not just about having land or building structures. It was about creating a space that fostered joy, community, and connection. She started to think about accessibility, safety, and comfort, imagining how each dog and owner would experience the park from the moment they arrived. While searching for land, she discovered something curious. She already owned several plots in the surrounding area, properties she had acquired over the years for other reasons. At first, it seemed like a stroke of luck, almost too convenient. Yet, as she examined these plots, she realized that owning land didn't automatically solve her problem. Some areas were uneven, some had restricted access, and others were too close to busy roads to be safe for dogs. It was ironic, owning land all around, yet struggling to find the perfect spot. This irony didn't discourage her. Instead, it added a layer of complexity to her planning. Challenging her to think creatively, she continued to refine her vision. Sketching detailed layouts, imagining different sections for dogs of all sizes, spaces for training, play, and rest. She considered planting trees for shade, building small hills for exercise, and creating quiet corners for dogs who preferred calm spaces. She imagined the sounds of happy dogs, laughter of owners, and the general sense of community. Each detail mattered because she wanted the experience to be perfect, something that would make people smile every time they visited. Her commitment was noticed by others. Neighbors, friends, and fellow dog lovers started to support her. They shared advice, helped her research land options, and even offered temporary spaces for pop-up events to test ideas. Their encouragement was invaluable, giving her the energy to continue despite setbacks. She felt a growing sense of responsibility, not just to her dream, but to the dogs and owners who would one day enjoy the park. Every visit to potential land became a learning experience. She examined the soil, the slopes, access points, and nearby facilities. She spoke with local authorities to understand regulations, ensuring that every step she took was legally sound. She learned about water drainage, environmental impact, and maintenance requirements. Each factor added depth to her planning, helping her imagine a park that was not only beautiful and fun, but also practical and sustainable. Her vision was not static. It grew with every new insight. She imagined hosting training workshops, agility competitions, and community events. She thought about partnerships with local shelters to help dogs find homes and creating educational programs for young dog owners. The dream expanded beyond a simple park. It became a hub for learning, community engagement, and joy. Despite the complexity and challenges, her passion never wavered. She found herself waking up early, thinking about solutions to problems, sketching new layouts, and dreaming of the day the park would open. She spoke to anyone who would listen, sharing her vision with a mix of excitement and determination. Each conversation reinforced her commitment and inspired new ideas. Keeping her motivated, she understood that building a dog park was not just a business venture. It was a mission. She wanted to create a space where dogs could live their best lives, where owners could connect with their pets and each other, and where the community could feel pride and joy. She knew it would take time, effort, and resources, but she believed in the value of the dream. The journey had already changed her, teaching patience, resilience, and the importance of attention to detail, even in moments of exhaustion. When setbacks seemed overwhelming, she reminded herself why she started. The joy of dogs, the happiness of their owners, and the sense of community kept her moving forward. She documented every idea, every challenge, and every small success, creating a roadmap that would guide her through the complex journey ahead. The dream of the dog park had grown from a simple idea to a detailed vision, a plan that combined creativity, practicality, and love. She understood that the road ahead would be difficult, filled with unexpected obstacles, but she was ready to face them. With every step, she was learning, growing, and preparing for the day when the park would finally become a reality. Her journey had just begun, and the dream, vibrant and alive in her mind, was ready to take its first real steps toward becoming more than just an idea. As she moved forward with her dream, the first real challenge began to appear. Finding land that fit her vision was much harder than she imagined. Every plot she visited seemed to have a problem. Some were too small, others too steep or uneven. A few were located near busy roads, making them unsafe for dogs. She had thought that her own surrounding land could be part of the solution, but even those areas were tricky. One plot had rocky soil, another had hidden water drainage problems, and yet another had unclear legal boundaries that made any development risky. It was frustrating to realize that owning land didn't mean she could build her park wherever she wanted. The more she tried to find the right place, the more obstacles appeared. Each one more complicated than the last. She quickly learned that zoning laws were stricter than she had expected. Some areas allowed public parks, but not commercial dog parks. Other areas required expensive permits and lengthy approval processes. She spent long hours meeting with local officials, trying to understand every rule and regulation. Each meeting revealed another layer of complexity. She learned that building fences, adding structures, and even planting certain trees could require special permissions. It was overwhelming at times, and she felt the weight of the bureaucracy pressing down on her. Money was another concern. Every potential plot came with a price, and some were far beyond her budget. She calculated, recalculated, and tried to find ways to make the finances work. She considered loans, partnerships, and even crowdfunding. She spoke to friends and financial advisors, looking for any way to make her dream possible. Yet every financial solution seemed to have a catch. Loans came with high interest rates. Partnerships meant sharing control. And crowdfunding required marketing skills she wasn't sure she had. Still, she refused to give up. The dream of a perfect dog park was worth the struggle. Even as she faced these practical challenges, the emotional weight of the journey was intense. Each time she thought she had found a solution, a new problem appeared. She began to feel a mix of hope and frustration, excitement and discouragement. Some nights, she lay awake, thinking about the land, the dogs, and the park she had envisioned. She worried that the dream might never come true, yet she also reminded herself why she started. She loved dogs, she loved the idea of a community space, and she believed in her vision. That belief kept her moving forward, even when the obstacles seemed insurmountable. Her friends and family tried to help. They offered advice, shared contacts, and even suggested alternative locations. Some of their ideas were helpful, while others made her realize how unique her vision was. She didn't just want a space for dogs. She wanted a perfect experience for both dogs and owners. She wanted safety, beauty, and joy all in one place. She couldn't compromise on that vision. Every suggestion that didn't align with her dream made her more determined to find the right solution, no matter how difficult. She also began to face skepticism from the community. Some people questioned whether a dog park was necessary or if it would even be used. Others worried about noise, safety, or the impact on nearby properties. Community meetings became a test of patience and persuasion. She had to explain her vision clearly, answer questions, and calm fears. She learned to present her ideas in a way that made sense to everyone, showing how the park could benefit dogs, owners, and the community as a whole. It was challenging. But she also found allies, people who shared her love for dogs and understood the value of her project. As she navigated these challenges, she discovered something ironic and almost amusing. Despite all the obstacles, she owned much of the land surrounding her ideal location. Yet owning it didn't solve her problems. Each piece of land had limitations, from poor access to legal restrictions that made it unsuitable for a park. It was a frustrating realization. She had expected ownership to make things easier, but it only made the process more complicated. It forced her to think creatively, to consider ways she hadn't before. She began exploring options like combining parcels, creating pathways, and designing the park in sections. Each idea brought new possibilities, but also new challenges. Through all this, she kept learning. She studied landscape design, dog behavior, and community planning. She talked to other park owners, attended workshops, and read articles about successful dog parks. Every piece of knowledge helped her refine her vision. She began to understand that building a park was not just about land or money. It was about creating an experience. She wanted every dog and owner to feel welcome, safe, and happy. She wanted the park to be a place where people could connect with their pets and with each other, creating memories that would last a lifetime, even with the difficulties. She found small victories that kept her motivated. A neighbor agreed to test a temporary play area, allowing her to observe how dogs interacted in a controlled environment. She received helpful feedback from dog owners about what worked and what didn't. She learned about the types of surfaces dogs preferred, the importance of shade, and how to design spaces for safety and enjoyment. These small successes reminded her that progress was possible. Even if the ultimate goal seemed far away, the financial pressure remained a constant concern. She realized that every decision had to be carefully considered. She made detailed budgets, planned for maintenance, and explored different revenue streams. She thought about memberships, events, and partnerships that could support the park without compromising her vision. She learned to balance passion with practicality, understanding that dreams require careful planning and smart decision-making. Each step, no matter how small, brought her closer to her goal. She also began to see the importance of community support. Without the trust and encouragement of neighbors, friends, and local officials, her project would be much harder. She spent time building relationships, listening to concerns, and sharing her vision. She found that people were more receptive when they understood her dedication and the potential benefits of the park. She learned the power of communication and the importance of involving the community in her plans. It was not just her dream. It was a vision that could belong to everyone who loved dogs and valued shared spaces. Despite the constant challenges, she kept moving forward. Every obstacle became a learning opportunity, every setback a chance to think creatively. She discovered that patience, persistence, and flexibility were essential. She began to embrace the journey, realizing that it was shaping her into a more thoughtful, resourceful, and determined person. The dream of the dog park was still alive, stronger than ever. Fueled by the lessons she learned along the way, even as doubts crept in, she reminded herself why she started. She thought about the dogs she had loved over the years, the joy they had brought into her life, and the happiness she wanted to share with others. She imagined the laughter of children, the excitement of owners, and the pure delight of dogs running free. That vision was more powerful than any obstacle. It gave her the strength to continue, to explore every possibility, to never settle for anything less than what she had imagined. Her search for the perfect land continued with renewed focus. She visited plots multiple times, observed the terrain, and spoke with neighbors and local officials. She carefully evaluated every detail, from soil quality to access points. Considering how each factor would impact the dogs and owners, she documented her observations, compared options, and refined her plans. The process was exhausting, but it was also thrilling. Each visit brought her closer to understanding what was possible and what adjustments she might need to make. She also began thinking about long-term sustainability. She wanted the park to last for years, to grow and evolve with the community. She considered maintenance, environmental impact, and funding for future improvements. She learned about water conservation, landscaping techniques, and safety measures that could enhance the park. Every detail mattered because she wanted the park to be a place of joy, safety, and beauty. Not just for today, but for generations to come. As she navigated these challenges, she discovered a deeper truth about dreams. Ownership, resources, and knowledge were important, but they were not enough. What mattered most was perseverance, creativity, and the willingness to face obstacles head-on. She realized that setbacks were not failures. They were opportunities to grow, to think differently, and to find better solutions. This perspective gave her a sense of calm and determination, helping her stay focused even when progress seemed slow. By the end of this phase of her journey, she had learned more than she ever expected. She had gained practical skills, emotional resilience, and a clearer understanding of what her dream required. She understood the importance of planning, community engagement, and creative problem-solving. She also learned that even when everything seems against you, persistence and passion can open doors in unexpected ways. Her vision of the perfect dog park was still alive, stronger and more defined than ever. Ready to guide her through the challenges ahead, the more she explored, the more she realized that her journey was full of unexpected twists. One morning, she decided to walk through the plots of land she already owned, hoping to find some overlooked potential. She had spent years buying small parcels here and there, never imagining they would play a role in her dog park dream. Each plot had its own character. Some were wooded, some open, and some bordered small streams. She could see possibilities in each, but also challenges. A rocky incline here, a waterlogged area there. The land she already had seemed like a gift. Yet it was far from the easy solution she had hoped for. She walked the fields, imagining how dogs might run freely, weaving through trees, splashing near the small stream, and jumping over logs. But then she noticed the difficulties. One area was too steep, and a fall could injure dogs. Another section had poor soil that would make grass grow unevenly. Some parcels were too close to roads, raising concerns about safety. She began to understand that even land in her own possession required planning, preparation, and investment to be usable. It was both ironic and challenging. She felt a mix of frustration and determination. She knew that her dream was still possible, but it would take careful thought and creative solutions. She decided to take a different approach. Instead of searching for a single perfect location, she began to consider how the different parcels could work together. Maybe she could design the park in sections, each with its own unique features. Some areas could be for running, others for agility training, and still others for quiet relaxation. She sketched ideas on paper, trying to imagine how the park could flow naturally across her land. Each plan brought excitement, but also new questions. How would dogs move safely between areas? How would she maintain each section? Would the community embrace a park spread out across multiple plots? Her days became filled with planning and experimenting. She marked boundaries with stakes, walked paths she envisioned, and imagined dog owners enjoying the space. She visualized how to create a sense of unity despite the separate parcels. She considered pathways, bridges, and small fences to guide movement without making the park feel segmented. She wanted every dog and owner to feel free, safe, and happy. The challenge was complex, but she found joy in the problem-solving process. Each obstacle became a puzzle she wanted to solve. Even as she worked on layouts, she had to face other challenges. Weather, for instance, became a factor. Heavy rains could make parts of the land muddy and unusable. Dry periods could make grass wither. She had to think about drainage, irrigation, and planting resilient vegetation. She researched local climate patterns, soil types, and sustainable landscaping practices. It was a learning curve, but she found that understanding these details made her plans stronger. She wanted the park to thrive, no matter the season. And that required more than just imagination. Community support remained critical. She scheduled meetings with neighbors, local leaders, and dog owners to share her evolving plans. Some people were supportive, excited about the prospect of a well-designed dog park. Others had concerns. Noise, safety, and property boundaries were common topics. She listened carefully, noting each concern and thinking about solutions. For example, planting trees and shrubs could create natural barriers to reduce noise. Proper fencing and signage could enhance safety. She realized that building trust with the community was as important as building the park itself. While navigating community feedback, she discovered the value of collaboration. She invited local dog trainers, volunteers, and designers to walk the land with her. Their perspectives helped her refine layouts and understand practical issues she might have overlooked. One trainer suggested creating separate zones for high-energy dogs and calm dogs. Another volunteer pointed out areas that might become slippery after rain. Each suggestion helped her refine her plans and imagine a park that could truly meet the needs of dogs and owners. Financial planning remained a constant challenge. She realized that transforming the land into a usable dog park would require money for fencing, pathways, landscaping, water stations, and other amenities. She explored multiple funding options. She reached out to local businesses for sponsorships, considered small community fundraising events, and even thought about hosting dog-related workshops to generate initial revenue. Each funding idea required planning, but she remained determined. She wanted the park to be sustainable, not just a temporary solution. Despite the challenges, small successes kept her motivated. One weekend, she set up a temporary play area on one of the parcels, inviting local dog owners to test the space. Dogs ran, chased balls, and explored new paths. Owners smiled, shared stories, and gave feedback. She observed how dogs interacted with each other, noting areas where they preferred to play and where improvements were needed. That weekend reminded her of why she started this journey. Seeing the joy on the faces of dogs and their owners reaffirmed that her vision was worth every struggle. She also learned to manage her emotions. Frustration, doubt, and anxiety were natural, but she discovered that staying focused on her vision helped her persevere. She wrote journals, documenting each obstacle and idea. She reflected on progress, no matter how small, and celebrated victories along the way. She realized that persistence and patience were essential. Dreams as big as hers did not happen quickly, and every step forward, no matter how challenging, was meaningful. Creative thinking became her greatest tool. When faced with difficult terrain, she thought of ways to turn challenges into features. Rocky areas became agility zones. Sloped areas became natural hills for running. Waterlogged patches were transformed into small ponds with safe borders. Every problem had a potential solution if she approached it with creativity and care. She began to see her land not as a collection of obstacles, but as a canvas full of possibilities. She also began documenting her journey visually. She took photos, created sketches, and even made simple maps. These tools helped her see the bigger picture and plan effectively. She shared her plans with volunteers and advisors, gathering feedback to refine ideas. Each discussion added clarity and depth to her vision. She realized that collaboration, planning, and careful observation were just as important as passion. Community engagement continued to grow. Local dog owners, inspired by her dedication, volunteered to help with small projects. They cleared paths, planted grass, and helped with temporary setups. Their involvement not only eased her workload but also created a sense of shared ownership. People began to feel connected to the park before it even existed, and that support was invaluable. She realized that a park was not just a physical space. It was a community effort, built with love, care, and collaboration. As the seasons changed, she adjusted plans accordingly. She considered the impact of rain, snow, and heat on dogs and the park's infrastructure. She learned about shade structures, drainage solutions, and vegetation that could thrive year-round. Every detail mattered because she wanted the park to be a safe, enjoyable, and sustainable space. Her attention to detail grew, as did her understanding of what it meant to truly create a special place for dogs and their owners. She began thinking. Beyond just a local park, she imagined hosting events, dog training workshops, and small competitions. She thought about creating a space where dogs could learn, play, and socialize safely. She envisioned community gatherings where people could connect over shared interests and form friendships. The park was no longer just a dream for dogs. It was becoming a hub for the entire community, a place where joy, learning, and connection could flourish. Even with the progress, she faced moments of doubt. Some days the land seemed too difficult, the regulations too strict, or the finances too limited. But she reminded herself of the dogs, the owners, and the vision that had kept her going from the start. She thought about the smiles she had seen during temporary events, the laughter of children, and the energy of dogs running freely. Those memories were a source of strength, reminding her that the dream was worth every struggle. She also reflected on the lessons she had learned so far. Ownership of land was not enough. Patience, planning, and creativity were essential. Community support and collaboration were critical. Financial management and problem-solving were key to turning ideas into reality. Each lesson, each challenge, and each small success added to her understanding of what it took to bring a dream to life. She felt stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the road ahead. By the end of this phase, she had transformed frustration into motivation, obstacles into opportunities, and uncertainty into a clear vision. The land she already owned, once seen as a limitation, was now a foundation for innovation. She could see the potential for a park that was safe, enjoyable, and unique. She had learned to embrace complexity, think creatively, and collaborate effectively. The dream of the perfect dog park was no longer just an idea. It was becoming a detailed, achievable plan, ready to face the next steps of development. After months of planning, experimenting, and adapting, she began to see the bigger picture clearly. The journey had been full of challenges, but each difficulty had taught her something new. She had learned that building the perfect dog park was not just about owning land or having money. It was about creativity, patience, community support, and the ability to turn obstacles into opportunities. She reflected on the journey so far, understanding that her dream had grown beyond just a park. It had become a mission to create a space for joy, learning, and connection. She realized that the lessons she had learned were just as important as the park itself. She had learned to observe carefully, noticing how dogs moved, what areas they preferred, and how owners interacted with their pets. She had learned to listen to feedback, to take advice from experts, volunteers, and neighbors, and to adapt her plans accordingly. She had learned the value of persistence, realizing that setbacks were not failures but opportunities to grow and improve. Most importantly, she had learned to trust her vision, even when it seemed impossible. As she reflected, she began to explore alternative ways to bring her dream to life. She understood that the original plan of a single, fully developed park might take years to achieve. Instead, she considered smaller, temporary solutions that could still provide joy and community. Pop-up play areas, weekend events, and collaborations with existing parks became possibilities. She thought about using her own land creatively, setting up small, safe zones for dogs to run and play, while continuing to work toward the larger vision. These alternatives allowed her to share her passion immediately, without waiting for perfect conditions. She organized a small event on one of her parcels, inviting local dog owners to join. The response was overwhelming. Families arrived with dogs of all sizes, carrying toys, treats, and blankets. Dogs ran freely, chasing each other, sniffing new scents, and exploring the space. Owners laughed, shared stories, and exchanged tips. The energy was contagious. She watched from a distance, her heart swelling with pride and joy. This was a taste of what her dream could become, and it reminded her why she had started. Even if the larger park took time, these small successes were meaningful. The event also provided valuable insights. She observed how dogs interacted with each other and the environment. Some areas were too crowded, others too exposed to sun. She noted where fences might be needed, where water stations could be placed, and how pathways could be improved. Feedback from dog owners was invaluable. They suggested shaded resting areas, safe zones for small dogs, and play equipment that could engage pets of all ages. Every comment helped refine her plans. Making the dream more tangible and practical, community support grew stronger with each event. People saw her dedication and the joy she brought to dogs and owners alike. Volunteers offered to help with maintenance, temporary setups, and even fundraising. Local businesses began to express interest in sponsoring events or providing supplies. She realized that her dream was no longer just hers. It had become a community effort. The park, even in its temporary form, was bringing people together and creating a sense of connection. That realization was both humbling and motivating. She also focused on sustainability and long-term planning. She researched environmentally friendly materials for fencing, safe surfaces for dogs to run on, and plants that could thrive year-round. She wanted the park to be durable, safe, and enjoyable in all seasons. Every detail mattered, from the placement of water stations to the type of grass that would withstand heavy use. She understood that attention to these details was essential for creating a park that could grow and endure over time. Financial planning continued to be a crucial part of her journey. She explored creative ways to generate income for the park without compromising the experience. Memberships, small events, workshops, and community partnerships became options. She carefully considered each idea, evaluating its feasibility and potential impact. She wanted to ensure that the park could sustain itself while remaining accessible and welcoming. Balancing passion and practicality became a central part of her approach. Her dedication inspired others to join her efforts. Local dog trainers volunteered to host small sessions teaching dogs and owners new skills. Families offered to help set up play areas and maintain the space. Friends and neighbors contributed their time, ideas, and resources. She realized that a park was not just about land or money, it was about people coming together to create something meaningful. Each contribution, no matter how small, strengthened the sense of community and brought her closer to realizing her vision. Even with progress, she faced challenges that tested her resolve. Weather could disrupt events, unexpected maintenance issues arose, and financial pressures remained. Yet, she learned to approach these obstacles with calm and creativity. She developed contingency plans, built flexibility into her schedules, and learned to adapt quickly. Every challenge was an opportunity to improve, to refine her approach, and to strengthen the park. She discovered that resilience was as important as vision, and that perseverance could turn difficulties into achievements. She also began to document her journey more formally. Photographs, videos, and written notes captured the evolution of the park. She shared updates with the community, inspiring others and building support. People could see the progress, understand the challenges, and celebrate successes. The documentation became a tool for reflection, allowing her to track growth, recognize achievements, and plan next steps. It reinforced the idea that even small progress was meaningful and worth celebrating. As she reflected on the lessons learned, she realized that her dream had transformed. It was no longer just about building a park. It was about creating a space that fostered joy, connection, and community. The original obstacles had forced her to think creatively, adapt, and engage others. She had discovered that the journey itself was as important as the destination. Each challenge, setback, and small success had shaped her vision and strengthened her commitment. She also recognized the importance of balance. Her dream required focus and dedication, but she learned to take breaks, enjoy small victories, and celebrate progress. She spent time walking the land, playing with dogs, and talking with owners. These moments reminded her of the joy that inspired the dream in the first place. They provided energy, perspective, and motivation to continue. She realized that building a dream was not just about planning and execution. It was about staying connected to the passion that fueled it. Her journey also highlighted the value of flexibility. Plans changed, challenges arose, and circumstances shifted. By remaining open to new ideas and willing to adjust, she could turn potential setbacks into opportunities. She learned that flexibility did not mean compromising her vision. It meant finding better ways to achieve it. This mindset allowed her to navigate obstacles with creativity and confidence. Turning difficulties into learning experiences, community events continued to grow, reinforcing the sense of purpose and connection. Dogs and owners returned week after week, enjoying new features, trying out equipment, and meeting new friends. Feedback helped her refine layouts, improve safety, and enhance the experience. Volunteers continued to support her efforts, offering time, energy, and ideas. The park was evolving into a vibrant space, even in its temporary form, demonstrating that small, thoughtful actions could create meaningful impact. Through this phase, she also gained a deeper understanding of herself. She discovered patience, resilience, and the ability to solve complex problems. She learned to balance vision with practicality, creativity with planning, and passion with persistence. These personal growth experiences were as valuable as any tangible progress on the park itself. She realized that pursuing a dream could shape a person as much as it could shape the world around them. By the end of this stage, she felt a sense of accomplishment and clarity. The park, even in its temporary form, was bringing joy to dogs and owners, building community and demonstrating the power of perseverance. She had transformed challenges into opportunities, setbacks into lessons, and dreams into actionable plans. The journey had strengthened her vision, clarified her goals, and reinforced her belief in the importance of passion, dedication, and community engagement. She understood that the path ahead would still have obstacles, but she felt ready. The experience had taught her that success was not measured solely by immediate results, but by progress, learning, and the impact on others. The park was becoming more than a dream. It was a living, evolving space shaped by dedication, creativity, and community. She knew that with continued effort, adaptability, and support, the perfect dog park she had envisioned could one day become a reality, fulfilling not only her dream but the dreams of everyone who loved dogs and valued connection. The final phase of her journey was a time of reflection, growth, and fulfillment. She had come a long way from the initial dream of building a dog park. The challenges, setbacks, and unexpected obstacles had all shaped her vision into something richer, more sustainable, and deeply connected to the community. While the perfect, fully developed park was still a goal for the future, the progress she had made was significant and meaningful. The temporary setups, community events, and creative use of her own land had created a space that was already bringing joy to dogs and owners alike. She took time to walk through her land, observing how the different areas had come to life. Dogs ran freely across the fields, chased each other through open spaces, and explored shaded areas she had carefully planned. Owners laughed and chatted, forming friendships and sharing advice. Volunteers moved between areas, maintaining paths, refilling water stations, and ensuring that everything ran smoothly. She felt a deep sense of pride and satisfaction. The dream she had envisioned was alive, even if it was not in its final form. She realized that impact was not always measured by completion, but by the joy and connection created along the way. The temporary dog zones had become popular spots. Word spread quickly, and people traveled from nearby towns to enjoy the space. She saw families who had never met before bonding over shared love for their pets. Children learned how to interact safely with dogs, and new owners discovered tips for training and care. She even organized small adoption events, partnering with local shelters to help dogs find homes. The response was heartwarming. Every adoption, every smile, every wagging tail reinforced the value of her efforts. She knew that the dream of the dog park was making a real difference. One small step at a time, she continued to refine her plans for the larger park. Lessons learned from temporary events guided her decisions. She adjusted layouts, created safer pathways, and added features that enhanced the experience. She focused on accessibility, ensuring that owners with different needs could enjoy the park comfortably. She considered safety measures, such as secure fencing and clearly marked boundaries. She researched environmentally friendly materials and sustainable landscaping practices to make the park durable and eco-friendly. Each decision was informed by practical experience, community feedback, and her vision for a joyful, welcoming space. Financial planning had become more manageable with the support of the community and sponsors. Local businesses contributed supplies, volunteers helped with maintenance, and small events generated funds to cover costs. She had also established a membership system for frequent visitors, which provided steady support for ongoing improvements. Careful budgeting ensured that resources were used efficiently, balancing immediate needs with long-term planning. She realized that financial management was as critical as design and community engagement, and she had grown confident in navigating both aspects. Community engagement was stronger than ever. Volunteers felt invested in the park, contributing their time and energy to make each event successful. Dog owners provided feedback, suggestions, and encouragement, becoming partners in shaping the space. Local leaders recognized the value of the project, offering guidance and support for future development. The park had become a hub for connection, learning, and shared joy. She understood that a successful park was not just about infrastructure, but about fostering relationships and building a sense of belonging.